Hello. As a leadership team, we feel that in 2024 it's about the right time to be seeking to affiliate to a wider church network. And that's one of our objectives as a church leadership team, to be leading our congregation through that process this year.
So we do want to talk about affiliation, about connecting with a church network. And one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about the why of it is that actually a while back we did do a consultation with the whole church on what we were looking for in a church network, if indeed we were looking to connect with one. But that process was actually, I think, nearly 2 years ago. And as a result, a lot of people have arrived since then and weren't part of that consultation. But also it's been drawn to our attention, and it's not something I had thought of really, that from the point of view of leading the church, there are some things that are apparent to me with that overview, which may not be apparent to everybody who's leading in a smaller capacity, involved with some part of our church activity, but not seeing the wider whole. So we're hoping to give a little bit of a leader's eye view, if you like, of some of the needs which we're hoping to answer by looking to connect with a church network, and also some of the benefits which we've seen or hope to see in connecting.
So I'd like to talk a bit about why we would do that. Why are we seeking affiliation? Well, those who've been part of a church for a long time will remember that at the outset, we benefited a lot from a council of reference, a number of church leaders from different churches across Oxfordshire who helped us work out how to do church, how to come together, and how to work out our identity. Now we have a pastor, and now we've been going for a number of years. We've been advised that it's about the right stage in our church life to seek to affiliate to a wider church group. So why is that? Well, affiliation is going to be for the benefit both of the leadership team, but also of the membership. Exactly what it means for the average person in church will depend. For some people, it may not make very much difference at all. For others, they're going to benefit from wider resources and training, and they'll be throwing themselves into new opportunities that we've not benefited from enough so far. So how it looks like in practice will vary from person to person. But I'd like to run through maybe 7 reasons why we think it's important to seek affiliation. So firstly, we as a church benefit from being part of something bigger because it provides accountability. And for that reason, a relational network is important to us. This is not just about ticking the box for insurance purposes, but actually seeking to work with other people. I'm sure people know that Hebrews is full of these commands called the lettuces. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. That's primarily spoken to an individual church, but throughout Acts we see a model where that encouraging and spurring one another on to love and good deeds happens across a wide network of churches, helping each other. Secondly, that's the whole membership, particularly those leading in different ways in church, are resourced by a network that we're part of. 1 Thessalonians 5 says that encourage and strengthen one another as you are doing. Thirdly, there will be support for the leadership team. It's great to have some external input and oversight. And again, real accountability of a leadership team is important. Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. Fourthly, the model in Acts is that people and resources are interchanged between churches in a real and pragmatic way. So if you read the start of the end of Colossians chapter 4, it says, after this letter's been read to you, see that it's also read in the church of the Laodiceans, and that you in turn read the letter from Laodicea. There were resources moving around, there were people moving around, and that's a great model to follow.
Yes, and as Tim was saying, really, the model we see in the book of Acts is one in which people are moving between churches for a whole range of reasons. And we also see characters like Agabus, for instance, who have a sort of a roving prophetic ministry. We see him going from Jerusalem to Antioch, and then we see him further again in Caesarea. So there's this world in which people are connected. They know each other by relationship, by recommendation, and they're in and out of each other's lives, not on a daily basis, but on a regular enough basis that that they feature in letters that Paul writes particularly. That strength of relationship can be really helpful to individual churches where particular things become culturally embedded. What we see at the beginning of Revelation is 7 letters to churches which have strengths and also cultural weaknesses, things which need addressing. And the reality is that those are often most visible to people outside the fellowship. So when there is that strength of relationship, then they can bring that helpful external critique. There's a proverb that says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but a flatterer multiplies kisses. And that critical friendship that can come alongside a church and say, do you know, I think you might need to pay some attention to this area of church life, can be really, really helpful in avoiding a church going down a sort of a destructive path, or one that will end up with the church stuck in a rut.
Churches can go through ups and downs. When a church is stuck in a rut, then it can be helpful to have external input from critical friends to help rescue a church. And we've seen that happen in practice. Some events and opportunities work best at scale, particularly training events or youth camps or overseas mission, when we pool resources. And lastly, a church network can provide an arena in which to grow and train our own members. Often we can lend people or receive people who've got other training opportunities within a wider network, and we can benefit from helping each other.
The importance of raising and training and sending and commissioning leaders may not necessarily be obvious to everybody. At WCC, we have been hugely blessed. The founders of the church included a very, very large number of people with strong leadership capacity, and that's been part of the history and the heritage of the church, is that we've benefited from that. But I strongly believe that the kingdom of God is not one in which we just benefit from what other people have sowed, but also where we sow to raising and training leaders, and having a wider sphere in which to do that is exceptionally helpful. It's worth saying all of these benefits that we've covered, Tim and myself, are all benefits that to some greater or lesser extent we're getting at the moment, through friendship, through informal links and so on. The advantage of connecting in a more formal, more lasting way is that over time familiarity grows with that increased proximity that comes from really connecting officially. As that familiarity and that friendship and that trust grows, all of those benefits become even more beneficial. And so our hope is that if we do connect with a church network, it will be something where the gains actually increase over time, the more we get to know each other and the more we trust one another.